Alright, cool. Welcome back to another psychology video. I think this is principle 7, and we're going to be talking about discipline. Also, I want to say sorry if my voice is so low, I'm so tired, but at the end of the day, we're disciplined, bro. We're doing these videos no matter what. And this video is going to be pretty short. I think it might be like 10 minutes or something, I don't know, but we'll just, no yapping, no yipping. We'll just get straight into it. So I'll start off by saying that discipline is your edge when it comes to trading. Strategy is one thing, but even in order to follow your strategy, you're going to need discipline. And that's, the main thing. But let's just look at what discipline even means. I've got a definition here on my phone that I look at every day. But it says it's the practice of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. And it's as simple as that, bro. The way I like to see it, it's doing what you say you're going to do. Boom. So easy, so simple, but yet so, few people do it because many people aren't disciplined. It's your word you keep to yourself, if you say you're going to do something and whether you do it or not, that's going to determine whether you're disciplined or not. And how it kind of ties into trading, if you're disciplined, you're going to be following your plan. You're going to be following your strategy. If your setup appears on the chart, you're going to take it. You're not going to be affected by, external emotions or how you think, what you think. Well, you don't know anything, but how you think, how you feel, you're not going to be affected. Another thing is consistency and execution. It's not, following your plan one time or twice or 3 times. You're going to be doing it day in, day out, again and again and again and again. And it gets boring, but that's what discipline is, doing it again and again and again and again. Another thing how it ties into trading is you're going to say no to temptations. In trading, there are so many tempting shit to do. Over trading. Entering trades you're not supposed to enter. Over risking. Over leveraging. So many temptations, but and in the last video we looked at identity change, when you have, a clear roadmap of the person you want to become or you're trying to become, you're going to naturally say no to things that are going to pull you off course. Ask yourself, if you're, we did talk about outcomes, how they are overrated, but if, ask yourself, does a person that makes 10k a month, are they over risking? Are they over leveraging? Are they entering trades they're not supposed to do? I don't think so. And then what traits do them people have? They're disciplined at the end of the day. That's what we're learning about today. They're consistent. They do what they know they're supposed to do. They do the right thing. So that's how it kind of ties into trading. And why it ultimately matters. It's going to save you, bro. Discipline is going to protect you. It's like a safety net. There's so much tempting shit, as I talked about, over risking, over trading. But once you have that discipline just to do what you said you're going to do and do what you know you need to do, it's going to keep you away from shit that's going to just bring you down, bro. Literally. Also keeps your risk management intact. Your plan, your strategy is going to have parameters that tell you how much you're willing to risk on a day, how much you're willing to risk per trade. And we'll talk about this later in the series. We'll get into the whole plan, the whole strategy, but it's going to save you. It's going to protect you from, external shit that's going to pull you down. But it's having that discipline, following through with that every day, day in, day out, that's going to, elevate you. Because we talked about in the last video, this shit it compounds exponentially, not cumulatively, exponentially. You prove to yourself that you are disciplined through small wins, through small, just following through the day. Don't let the day defeat you. And it removes randomness. You build trust in the data that you're going to collect. and we'll talk about, what backtesting is, but all it is just collecting data in your strategy. And you're going to build trust in yourself. And in order to even do that, you need discipline to backtest every day, to collect data. You're going to need discipline. It's very important. And I said discipline goes way beyond trading. It impacts your life, but it goes hand to hand at the same time. You can't be disciplined on the charts, but be disciplined off the charts, and vice versa. So, your daily habits, are they in line with your identity first? And even to, follow through with your daily habits, whether you got a routine, you're fixing your trading mindset, you need discipline to do that day in and day out, consistently. And there's so many other things, your gym, health, sleep, your diet, because all these things that you need to be disciplined in will impact your trading at the end of the day. If you're eating shit, if your diet is shit, you're going to feel shit. So when you hop onto the charts, you're going to be shit. If you're not getting enough hours in your sleep, if you're sleeping late, you're going to wake up in the morning sloppy. So when you get onto the charts, you're going to be sloppy. It directly impacts your discipline on the charts. So it goes hand to hand. That's the point I'm trying to make. And some common mistakes I see people making is mistaking discipline for motivation. All motivation is a short burst of temporary willpower. It's not sustainable. Maybe if you're starting this, you're maybe feeling a burst of motivation, but what's gonna, determine whether you finish all these videos, whether you become successful, not successful, is discipline. Whether you're gonna follow through again, and again. Another common mistake is letting one loss, break you. We're not robots at the end of the day. If you, fall short one day, discipline is still intact, because at the end of the day, all you've done is just cast one vote for, the identity that you're not trying to become. But what discipline is how quickly you bounce back, how quickly you can cast votes again to back the identity that you're trying to become. Don't let one loss, change you. It's how quickly you can bounce back. Because at the end of the day, we are not robots. We're human. And another thing is not tracking yourself. You need to be tracking. You need to be journaling. You need to be tracking yourself, because you need to, see patterns and recognize them. See where, you're doing good. See where you're doing bad, and then build on that. So let's talk about how we can actually build discipline. Let's get into this shit. So again, I said that discipline is kind of your word to yourself. Whether your word to yourself has weight, whether it means something to you, is going to determine whether you're disciplined or not. And you do this by, small daily wins, which I talked about in the last video. Small wins that reinforce your identity. Are you waking up on time? Are you doing shit you're gonna say? Are you going to the gym? Are you eating good? And then track these small wins. They are gonna cast a vote for the person you're trying to become. And then one vote is gonna reinforce that you're disciplined. So that at the end of the day, you are going to be disciplined. You are going to follow through. And how we can, sustain discipline is actually rewarding yourself for, following through. If you're, trading well, following your strategy, reward yourself, But don't, if you say you go to the gym, you followed through for a consistent amount of time, a few months. Don't reward yourself with, junk food. It doesn't make sense to cast a vote for, for the opposite identity you're trying to become. Reward yourself with the same, good aligned way. For example, you could get a massage, you could go to the spa, treat yourself, but even make the treat good, you know? And accountability. To build discipline, you need to be accountable. As I said, like, discipline is your word to yourself, but expound on that, tell your friends, tell your family, because that keeps you, double accountable. If someone else, is aware of the things you're doing, you're more likely, to follow through, to be and do it. And then at the end of the day, that's what discipline is following through in what you say and doing it. So yeah, like, there's not really much to say about discipline. I can make this video 1 hour long, but the main thing I want you to get from this video is that discipline is literally just following through with what you say. But obviously, in the last video, we talked about having a clear roadmap. So, following through with what you say and the things you're doing are good, and they are aligned with the person you're trying to become. Because if you're trying to go to the gym, but you're doing shit that is bad for you, that's not aligned with what you're trying to, become, the identity you're trying to be. Discipline is your word to yourself. And it's boring, bro. It's so boring. But that, at the end of the day, is what's going to differentiate the winners from the losers. I talked about goals and outcomes. They are overrated because winners and losers, they have the same goals. But what differentiates the winners from the losers is the discipline they use to drive themselves to the goals. The process. It's doing what you need to do. So it's boring, but it makes money. You see all the successful people, they say they're disciplined. It makes money. The most disciplined traders, they're profitable at the end of the day. So this shit works. So yeah, that's it for this video. If nothing clicked again, rewatch it. But there's one main message that I wanted to convey, is that discipline is your word to yourself and just following through with it. And it's going to determine, whether you finish the series, whether you become successful or not in this trading space. So yeah. All right, cool. So I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.